All right, I'm back again. So I wanted to talk about a subject that is related to the last video that I uploaded about this person who I grew up with that was murdered several months ago. It's basically being mindful of the company that you keep. I think that part of the reason why this person, let's give him a name, I'm going to call him Eric, which is not his real name. Eric had never actually gotten his life together before he passed on is because of the types of people that he was associated with. Now, I don't think that to his core he was a bad person. Yes, he did have a lot of negative personality traits and he did do a lot of bad things in his life, but at his very core, I don't think that he was a bad person. And that's not giving him a pass for doing some of the things that he had done. This is just me talking as a person that knows him and that grew up with him. I know his heart. I mean, probably if I did not know him personally and I knew of some of the criminal acts that he had committed, then maybe I would think of him as being a toxic, nasty, and wicked person on the surface. But then at the same time, I'm the type of person that, and then also maybe the nostalgia and me growing up with him and reflecting back on childhood memories makes me somewhat biased. But at the same time, I'm the type of person also that judges someone by the totality of all of their behaviors throughout their life. And I don't have a hell or a heaven to put anyone in. So maybe I'm not in a position to judge whether someone is a bad person or a good person. So I don't know, what am I really trying to say here? I guess what I'm trying to say is that there is good and bad in each and every one of us. There is very few people who are completely evil and completely rotten from the core, inside out. Even though he was a toxic person, I did see some good in him. And like I said, it's not me giving him a pass. It's just me knowing the type of situation that he came out of and understanding that he was not born into this world as an evil or bad person. He is pretty much a victim of his own circumstances, and also he's the way that he is for a reason. Is because of the way that he grew up. He is a product of his environment. But anyway, I think part of the reason why he wasn't able to get his life together is because of the people that he associated with, which was the criminal element, and because of the circumstances that he grew up under. Coming from a dysfunctional family of a mother and a father who were addicted to drugs, and a father that was very abusive to him, both psychologically and physically. But no matter how much he did attempt to go on the straight and narrow, because he was still in that atmosphere or that environment where the criminal element still existed, it's like he was pressured by his homeboys or whoever he associated with to continue doing the things that he was doing. And it is hard. It's hard to get. I think that Eric is very much a product of his environment, being that he grew up in a bad neighborhood. All that he saw was a lot of death, destruction, illegal activity, violence, hatred, And, that's what he was used to. So that's what he gravitated towards. And he was raised by his grandparents, but as hard as they tried to give him a loving home and a stable environment, I think the problem in his situation is that the other people in his environment, like the people that he went to school with, his friends, and other people who lived in the neighborhood, had a greater influence on his life. And not all of those people were wholesome or savory people. Many of those people were involved in criminal activity, and they had a greater influence on him. And everybody wants to feel like they belong. Everybody wants to feel like they're a part of something. And I believe that he wanted to, in order to please his friends, he gave in to peer pressure and did what he thought would be acceptable in his friends' eyes in order to feel accepted. So, in my humble opinion, I believe the only way out of his situation would have been for him to just get completely out of that area. Move to another city hundreds or thousands of miles away. If he really did have the desire to change and to get his life right, I'm quite sure that his grandma would have helped him, get the money together to get his life back on the right track, move somewhere else where he could make a fresh start. But deep down, he probably really didn't even want to change. I just say all of that to say that sometimes it takes a person moving out of that negative environment and that negative where there's all this negative energy and peer pressure in order to make that change, that positive change in their life, and to get themselves back on the right track. Because you have people that they may not want to see you rise above your situation. Their situation is messed up, so they don't want to see someone who, comes out of the same situation that they're in do better than them. It's fucked up, but that's how some people are. Some people that you think have your back, that, are your friends or your relatives, they really truly don't want to see you do better. Especially if they're not doing good. And it really is a true saying that birds of a feather flock together. You're going to start to vibrate on the same frequency and think and behave the same way as those that you spend the most time with. If you are spending large amounts of your time with people who just want to sit around and play Xbox all day and smoke weed or drink, then eventually, if you're not that type of person, eventually you're going to become that type of person, because that's what you're being exposed to hour after hour, day after day. And if you're spending large amounts of time with someone who is a very productive person, who's very successful, who has their act together, then eventually you're going to start to mimic that person's behaviors, and you will become like that person. Sometimes it takes removing yourself from a negative situation and negative environment in order to even begin to make a paradigm shift and a change in your mindset, so that you can begin to act better and to make the changes that you need in your life in order to become a better person. And see, if you're a weak-minded and easily suggestible and easily influenced person, it's going to be hard to make those necessary changes, because you're going to always have those people and those negative influences trying to tempt you or entice you to doing things that you really know that you have no business doing. One of my uncles, God bless the dead, he spent over 20 some odd years of his life in prison for something that he didn't do. Why? Because he was guilty by association. He went jumping into a car riding with a group of guys who he thought was his friends, and he ended up paying for something that they did, which was rob a local business and killed the business owner. And he was charged with murder and robbery, and long story short, he spent 20 some odd years of his life in prison for something that he wasn't directly involved with. He happened to be hanging around these people, and he was guilty by association. And I think that he got more time than all the other people that were implicated in the crimes. And that's another thing. Don't be so quick to get in and out of people's cars and riding along with people who you don't know that well. You know, sometimes you can't even ride along with people that you know well. And don't be so quick to loan people your car. But that's another video. I'm going to end this video here, and I'll talk to you guys in the next video.